which accrue to participants. And so, talking about that kind of benefit, particularly at this time, there's no question of a fixed mindset, but we must consider growth mindset. And so, like the introduction mentioned, we need to have an open mind. We need to have an open mind to learn, because the world in which we're in now is all about lifelong learning. And so please have an open mind, learn as much as you can, acquire the skills as much as you can, so that you can stand on your feet independently to take care of yourself, your family, and contribute to the development of society. So, like the topic said, growth mindset versus fixed mindset. I don't want to bother myself with fixed mindset. I would rather deal with growth mindset, because it is all about growth. It is all about sustainable development. It's all about sustainability. So, although I'll talk about fixed mindset, I want to focus on the growth mindset for creativity and innovation. You know, and so the most important thing is change. We need to change for progress. The growth mindset versus fixed mindset, the right approach to creativity and innovation. Like I said, the focus will be more on the growth mindset, although a few people will still have fixed mindset, which will not lead anywhere. I will
Can you hear me, sir?
concentrate. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, please. Your screen, it says you have paused your screen sharing.
No. I didn't pause it.
Okay. Do you mind resharing again?
Okay, can you see the screen?
Not yet.
Okay, so let me share it again. So I stop sharing
Yeah, you
and then
stop.
share once again. Okay.
All right, perfect. We can see now.
You can see now. Okay. So we'll be dealing with growth mindsets. And some of the questions we'll look at will be, what are the attitudes of successful people? Successful people here, I'm talking about innovators, inventors, investors. What are their characteristics? What are their qualities? What can we learn from them? And what are the characteristics and qualities of true leaders? All these will help us appreciate what we mean by a growth mindset, transformational leadership, and so on. I'll give you a few examples. And one of the examples I'll give to you is that if you look at the Nobel Prize winners in the world, over 20% of the Nobel Prize winners are Jews all over the world. Jews, not necessarily people in Israel, Jews in Europe, Jews in America, and so on. So the question is, why are the Jews? What kind of mindset do they have to be able to win the highest prize in scholarship? You know, so these are the questions we need to look at. You know, so what are their characteristics? What can we learn from them? So the right approach to creativity actually is growth mindset, and that's the answer. It's not going to be a fixed mindset, and the time to change is now. We are in a new world, in the world of knowledge economy, and so we require new mindset and new attitudes. That mindset is growth mindset. We need to have new knowledge, new value systems. And in the new knowledge economy, we need to have new toolkits and data sets, new skill sets, new commitments to partnerships and collaborations. And that is what the Sustainable Development Goal 17 is all about. So it is all about a new attitude, new mindset, new skills. And so you are here to acquire new skills, which is very important. And I would like to encourage you to take your training in Speedlink seriously. Today, in the world of learning, what we have is lifelong learning. And as I would show to you, you will find that learning does not stop when you graduate from a university. As a matter of fact, we are reimagining the university system. What kind of university system do we want? Look at the pandemic. During the pandemic, the university moved away from traditional ways of doing things to, to work in the digital cyberspace. People stayed at home to learn. New ways of evaluation were introduced. Today we are talking about AI. Some people globally are arguing about whether to use or not to use, particularly in developed world. In our part of the world, we have not even started developing policies for this. But I tell my students, use AI, learn how to use it. Because once a new technology develops, it will continue to develop. And if you are not there, you are left behind. This is why you must have a growth mindset. You must imbibe new knowledge. Learning does not stop at graduation. Learning continues. New technologies are coming. So if you don't learn, then of course you'll be left behind. Even to buy a mobile phone now, if you don't learn how to use it, of course you'll be like somebody who's antiquated. So you must continue to learn how to use new tools, new technologies, and so on. So learning does not stop. It's a continuous process. And from cradle to grave, we must continue to learn because new developments will take place. So, to talk about the growth mindset, I want you to focus on this slide now. I want you to take a look at nature study. In nature study, the example I'm giving you is you plant a seed. Imagine the growth of a seed to a plant. What laws govern the growth? In all naturalness, simplicity, beauty, and logic, what laws govern the growth? The law of sowing and reaping is a law that governs the growth. We take this law for granted because it is a law of nature, living law of nature. Once you plant a seed and you do everything possible to water it, and it will continue to grow and then reach a point where it bears, it begins to flower, it matures, begins to flower, begins to bear fruits. So that is about growth. And now, what guides this process is called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. Every plant, I'm telling you something very profound. Every plant seeks the light. Every plant seeks the light. So if you have a plant and you have a building blocking its view to the light, the plant begins to grow quickly in such a way that it is not hampered. It faces the light. It draws light rays. And with the light rays it draws, what happens is miraculous. It's called photosynthesis. So it is also with us human beings. From cradle, we begin to grow. We begin to develop our tools, the intellect. We develop the brain. We begin to understand things. And then gradually we mature. We begin to bear flowers, just like plants. We are told in the scripture, we must be fruitful and multiply. Being fruitful and multiply is an activity. It means we must continue to grow. We must, in the case like the plant, we must seek the light. The light here in this case is the light of the Almighty. We must seek knowledge from Him. We must imbibe the truth in such a way that we grow purposefully and begin to bear fruits, begin to become creative and innovative, solving problems. Every human being must try to solve a problem of society and be proud that he has been able to solve a problem. And this is what innovation and creativity is all about. You must be known for something. You must contribute something to society, just like the people we read about. And this is what is expected of every human being. So this slide is a summary of what I'm saying in this lecture. I'm bringing it up front so that you appreciate the growth of a plant and apply this to the growth of a human being. We are all seeking the light. It's all about photosynthesis. Without the rays of the sun, nobody can survive. But for human beings, we go beyond the rays of the sun to the rays of the light of the Almighty, to seek His will, to mature, to live a purposeful life, and obey the command to be fruitful and multiply. In that way, we will contribute something to society, will be known for something, and that will make us very happy. Now, so let me now tell you about some of the things you need to know. Let's look at the evolution of society. Today, it is called Society 5.0. I found this very interesting, and I discovered this very recently. The first society is called Society 1.0. It's all about hunting. It was a hunting society. People live by hunting and so on. From hunting, we went to the next level, which is Society 2.0, which is agrarian society. Agrarian society, farming, and so on. And from there to Society 3.0, which is an industrial society. Now, Society 4.0 is information society. Today, we are in Society 5.0, which is a creative society. So everybody must begin to learn to be creative, add value to things, solve problems, and so on. But I'll go into details later. No, it is related, the evolution of the society is related to industrial revolution. It's related to education itself. So you see the parallel. Now, let's look at industrial revolution. It is called Industry 1.0, Industry 2.0, Industry 3.0, 4.0, 5.0. And from 1780, when we had the first industrial revolution, when the steam engine was discovered, to 1900, when electricity was discovered. So you begin to look at electric motors, assembly lines, mass production started. Then by 1970, between 1900 to 1970, we got into Industry 3.0. The microcontroller compiler had been discovered, computers came into being. Those of you who were in the university or knew, well, many of you may not be in the university, then the computer started, automation started, mass customization. Then between 1970, it took 70 years to get to Industry 3.0. By 2010, how many years? Between 2010 and 1970, how many years? We were now in the age of information highway, ICT age. Cyber, physical systems, Internet of Things, big data, robots, and so on. No, personalized production. Then suddenly, by 2020, again, look at just 10 years, by 2020, we have entered Industry 5.0, which is about green revolution, green deal. The COVID pandemic came, the Sustainable Development Goals had come. Now, this new development, many people may still be thinking about Industry 4.0, like I used to think. But unknown to me, within a space of 10 years, we had transformed from Industry 4.0 to 5.0. And 4.0 to 5.0 is the same technologies are there, digital technologies. But in this case, it is now humanized. The human volition is now key in this type of transformation. So If I pause here and tell you all the problems of society, all the problems in the Niger Delta, in Nigeria, all over the world, who is causing them? Human beings. It is not the Almighty. It is not nature. Human beings are the causes, are the ones causing all the challenges in society. And so, unless we change, change will not happen. But change is being enforced. Change is being enforced today. And so, you hear about climate change, you hear about digital transformation, the waves of digital transformation taking place, new digital technologies are being discovered. And so, in the midst of all this, Industry 5.0 is about ethical use, humanized use of technology. So just follow the trend from society 1.0 to 5.0, and then you see industrial revolution from industry 1.0 to industry 5.0. Now you enter education. Education itself is moving in that direction. You know, Education 1.0 was just lectures and memorization. People were memorizing things. Now we went from there to Education 2.0, which is internet-based education. Education 3.0 is knowledge-based education, knowledge. And then 4.0 is innovation-based education. Innovation-based education. Again, 5.0 is about ethics and humanized use of innovation. Innovation must be guided by values. So you can see everything is related. Society is moving from the agrarian age to the knowledge age. Technology is moving from the basic knowledge, farming tools, and so on, to the digital age. Education itself is moving in that direction. Education is moving in that direction. So we are now in an age where we must use technology in an ethical manner, in a manner that is befitting of human beings. So this is very important. What I'm telling you, I'm speaking about this for the first time. I have not spoken about this before. I'm speaking about this for the first time. So pay attention to this. Now, evolution of education. You can see, you get these slides, you can see the characteristics of each educational landscape. Education 1.0 was authoritarian approach, teacher-centered system, memorizing knowledge, and so on. If you can cram something, you are brilliant. Today, you don't need to cram anything. You don't need to cram anything. All you need to do is to make use of the knowledge properly. Today, it is now student-centered. We teachers are only to be conversing with the learners and guiding them, So the learners themselves are very innovative. We show you how to be innovative. And then it is student-centric. It is not teacher-centric. We are all in the same situation together. Students are learning and lecturers are learning from students are learning from lecturers. So we just converse. All we need to say is that there are problems in society. How do we solve them? The best ideas may come from the students. So this is the way education itself has evolved. Now, digital skills are demanded. And this is where SpeedLink is very important. A number of digital skills are available in SpeedLink. Computer problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, people management, coordinating with others, negotiate cognitive skills, and so on. So these are skills that are needed for this age. You can see a lot of this. Education 4.0 is about personalized education. As a matter of fact, the university education now is such that we don't need to tell you to come to school and spend 5 years. If you want to spend 10 years, it is your business. All you need to do, take the courses you can take, It is called modular system. If in a year you can take one module, you take it. You write the exam, you earn the credit. It is called microcredit. You assemble the credit and you decide when to graduate. If you want to do it in 2 years, it's your business. If you want to do it in 5 years, 6 years, it's your business. This is where we are heading to. It is called personalized education. It is also about personalized medicine. Medicine now is not very generic. For everybody, it is personalized. Precision technologies, personalized medicine. So you are being prepared to solve problems, and everybody have this. Everyone has access to education. If you look at some of the technology, robotics, big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things. These are some of the things you are learning in SpeedLink. Now, as a matter of fact, SpeedLink in itself is an industry school. We will get to a point where the university will have an arrangement with SpeedLink and say anybody you certify on, say, robotics, on big data, that credit the person earns is recognized by the university because you are acquiring skill, you are acquiring knowledge, So this is also what is being said about industry schools and microcredits. Many countries are developing policies to accommodate this kind of evolution. So you can see in Industry 4.0 the kind of technologies that are available: robotics, data analytics, augmented reality, additive manufacturing, blockchain technologies. All those things are there, and the use of these technologies in an ethical manner is what leads to Industry 5.0. At the heart of this now is a human being who must use these technologies efficiently, not in a manner that is destructive, is what takes us from 4.0 to 5.0. So Industry 4.0, you can see the characteristics, the kind of opportunities that are available, and how it leads to Industry 5.0. So in SpeedLink, robotics, big data, Internet of Things, machine learning, cybersecurity, cloud computing, all these things. In fact, SpeedLink is a partner in the university. You can see also from Industry 1.0 mechanization to mass production to computer and automation to cyber physical systems, and now mass customization, and cyber physical cognitive systems using applied to the human being. So this is just to tell you, going from evolution of society to industrial revolution to evolution of educational systems. So you can read some of this. Now let's go to creativity. Creativity, innovation, invention, discovery. I looked at this, and the dictionary defines creativity as the use of imagination or original ideas to create something. Use of imagination or original ideas to create something. Inventiveness. And then synonyms to creativity are inventiveness, imagination, innovation, originality, and so on. Ingenuity, enterprise. However, just take the basic definition: the use of imagination or original ideas to create something new. Okay? So the issue is we need to understand how this imagination takes place. We need to understand the intellect, how the intellect works. When we say the mind, we'll talk more about it. How the feeling works, what is imagination, what is intuition, what is inspiration, what is mind, what is heart. Some people will tell you, my mind tells me this. Some people say, my heart tells me this. So you need to understand some of this. And I expect that because you are in a digital community there, you should be able to check the meanings of each of these words and try to understand them deeply. So these are some of the things I want you to grasp. Yeah. We need to also understand what is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is, taking these ideas to the market. And what is intrapreneurship? If you are an innovator working in a company, producing new ideas, new goods and services, you are not called an entrepreneur. You are called an intrapreneur because you are working for somebody. So if, for instance, you are working in Speedlink and under the policies of Speedlink, you develop ideas and so on, then you are not an entrepreneur who is working independently per se, but you're an intrapreneur. And so these are some of the things I want you to note. So you can go on to check the meaning of creativity, the ability to form novel, valuable ideas and works using one's imagination. Products of creativity may be tangible or intangible, as the case may be. So you can check all this. What are the characteristics of creative people? Creative people produce works that are recognized by society. They influence and affect the culture of the people. Creative people influence society, and the characteristics include autonomy, they are independent-minded, they are into introspection, they are more intuitive, they listen more within and come up with new ideas. They are very curious people with the ability to solve problems. They have high intelligence in a particular direction and so on. So you can read some of these online. And some people look at a systems approach to creativity. First, there is a creative individual. The creative individual must understand his talents, his life experiences, and aspirations. Then, of course, the domain, the area in which he works, the class of knowledge activity that makes up a culture, and the environment in which he finds himself, and how he wants to influence that environment through his level quality of education, his training, apprenticeship, and practice. And then there's a field of practice. What is your field of practice? You are in a Speedlink, which is a digital community. And so if you develop your skills digitally, you'll be operating in a digital space. There are also phases and models of creativity. Some American psychologists have identified 6 essential stages or phases of creativity. Orientation. You need to be oriented in a particular direction. Incubation. And then incubation is about defining the problem and seeking a solution, which involves processing information. This can occur consciously or unconsciously. Some of the best creative ideas came through when people were asleep. So it can also come consciously or unconsciously. It can also come by just inspiration, by looking at things and an idea strikes you. And I'm sure many of you may have used the phrase, an idea occurred to me. Something occurred to you. What part of your body is it occurring to? And you feel it, that something has occurred to you. And then you remain calm, you begin to develop it in silence, and so on. So these are some of the processes. Then the third stage is illumination. The third stage is marked by divergent thinking, openness, and excitement. In an atmosphere of silence, you think, you are open, you are excited, open to receive, and so on. Then the fourth is verification. The individual evaluates his own work and compares it with what is known and finds that what is coming through him is novel. Thereafter, you communicate this to other people who will evaluate it. And then the last stage is validation of what is new. The validation is done by society, by peer groups, and so on. So these are some of the phases of creativity, models of creativity. So what is innovation? Innovation is the creation of a new way of doing something, a new way of doing something. While creativity is bringing something new, innovation is the new way, is a way to doing something, whether the enterprise or whatever. So one is something new, and then the other one is a new way of doing something. You know, well, the two are related. The lines are blurred. The two are related. So I personally try to differentiate between creativity and innovation, and I use innovation more for the sciences and creativity more for the art side. And you cannot separate art and science; they are all related. The art of doing things, the science of doing things. You know, the important thing is that there's something new, a new process, a new technology, a new tool, as the case may be. Now, innovation plays a key role in the development of sustainable methods of both production and living. You know, innovation brings alternative ways of doing things. As long as these alternatives are contributing to productivity and profitability of industry. And also, social innovation improves lives in the community. So, there are a number of notes you can read, you know. So, I just jumped that. There are a number of notes you can read. Now, the important thing is change of mindset from a fixed mindset where you think you can't do anything to a growth mindset. Change is important. Without change, we will not make any progress. So I'm going to quote Charles Darwin. I don't know how many of you have heard about Charles Darwin, the man who discovered the evolutionary process. He said, "It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change." So, adaptation to change is very important. Our university system, higher educational system, everything will collapse. Our ability to adapt to change is key. Without this adaptation to change, if we are rigid, a fixed mindset, then of course you'll be wiped out. You can't survive. But if you are amenable to change, if you're open to change, adaptable to change, of course you will make progress. So this is what this big man is telling us. Now, a former prime minister, a wartime prime minister of United Kingdom, Winston Churchill, said this at that time. He said, "The empires of the future are the empires of the mind." Very important, profound statement he made. The small island, the United Kingdom, was an empire spanning through a greater part of the world. English is now spoken in the whole of America, United States, in India, in the greater part of Africa, and so on. In Australia, a small island, you know, very powerful at the time, was an empire. But here is what the prime minister said. He said, "The empires of the future," this was at the time of the Second World War, "the empires of the future are the empires of the mind." It is not about conquering people, it's about conquering the mind. And so the future is here. And we're in the age of the knowledge society, the age of the knowledge economy. And this is where the mind works. So again, we keep using the word mind, keep that in view. We'll now later begin to find out what we mean by mind. Now, let me take you back to the scriptures. You know the parable of the talents. We know that the Lord endowed us with so much talents. We need to discover these talents and abilities. But the challenge is most of these talents are not even discovered. Everybody's endowed with a talent. Most of the talents are not discovered. Even the ones that are discovered and underused, grossly underutilized. So it is like the sophisticated mobile phones we have with all the apps in it. And yet we don't know how to use these apps. So the challenge we face today is a huge loss of unused talent, a huge loss. So we need to make the effort to discover our talents. Some institutions are talking about talent discovery. Talent discovery. The universities are not able to do it. So today you have industry schools like Speedlink helping us to discover our talents. And so we must have a growth mindset to begin to learn quickly and begin to appreciate the talents we bear. Many of us are very talented, but these talents are latent, are just waiting to be discovered. So let me give you a few examples. I don't know how many of you have heard about Damian Anyanwu, 1957 to 2020. He developed what is called Radio Imbise. I don't know how many of you have heard about Radio Imbise. In 1979, he did not go to school. Suddenly, he started mixing things and started broadcasting from Imbise. So, a private radio station. He was the first to have a private radio station broadcasting. So, this was a marvel to many people. And they began to wonder, how did he discover this talent, this ability to be able to develop a radio station and broadcast from his home? Apart from the radio station, he discovered a lot of things. The mistake society made was that instead of allowing him to grow and mature and explore his talents and his intuition, he was invited to University of Nigeria in Nsukka, first of all, and so that he could teach them how he was discovering these things, how he developed these transmitters and so on. Later, he was taken out of Nigeria to United States. And of course, they want to simply explore what made him. And by 2020, the man had passed on. You can imagine the wastage of talent that probably had not been explored in this man. And there are many people like that. So look at the map of the world. And anybody who had attended my lecture will always see this map. If you look at the map of the world at night, you can see America, Western America, Eastern part of America, a lot of light all over America. South America, you can see some light. See UK here, Europe. Look at Africa. Africa is the dark continent. And where there is darkness, criminality, all kinds of things will be there. Now, why I always show this is that there's a correlation. The best entrepreneurial universities, the Nobel Prize winners, the billionaires are found in those places where you see light. Those places where you see light. Africa, we're not there. So what can we do to light up Africa? It has to be people with growth mindset, people who are creative and innovative. The corollary of this is that the best Pentecostal churches are in Africa too, which is a plus if we use that properly. Then Nollywood, the third globally, is in Nigeria. And it's also spreading to Ghana and so other places. That shows that we're also very creative artistically. And so that is also a plus. So the question is, how can we replicate the Nollywood feat in the technology industry? And how do we light up Africa to contribute to sustainable development? So this is a challenge for young people. This is a challenge for industry schools, for universities. Look at the Nobel Prize winners as at 2013. Again, you can see the correlation between what I've just shown you, the world at night, and the kind of data I'm showing you now. If you look at the Nobel Prize winners in 2013, 370 people were in North America, 471 in Western Europe, UK and Western Europe, 84 in Central Europe, 16 in Africa, 16 in Australia, 19 in South America. So again, it correlates with the picture I've shown you. Now, by 2024, Europe has 53.6% of Nobel Prize winners. North America, 30.40%. Asia, 9.2%. Africa, 3.6%. South America, 1.47%. So again, the picture is clear. People with growth mindset are found in those places where a lot of discoveries are made, a lot of creativity happen. Now, so this is the question. As at 2023, of the 965 individual recipients of the Nobel Prize, 216 have been Jews, people of Jewish descent, representing 22%, whereas the Jewish population is only 0.2% of the world population. People who constitute 0.2% of the world population winning 22% of the Nobel Prize, the highest prize for scholarship and learning. Meaning that the share of winners is 110 times their proportion of the world population. So how do we explain this? Why is it so? What kind of mindset do the Jews have? Those of you familiar with the scriptures, of course, we will go back to the scripture. They are chosen people, yes. These people are not, I'm talking about Jews all over the world. There are Jews in America, Jews in Europe, and Jews in the Middle East. So we need to learn what are their qualities, what are their characteristics, what kind of mindset do they have. So this is an example of a growth mindset, a mindset that is curious, that is investigative, that wants to solve problems of society. You know, this is very, very important. We need to pay attention to this. You know, then look at the billionaires in the world. North America or high net worth individuals. You can see North America, then Europe, Asia Pacific, China. China, of course, is growing. You know, look at Africa. Again, the same picture. Picture that picture painted. Then look at ranking of universities. The ranking of universities. If you look at the top 20 universities, top 20, 15 are in the United States, 3 in the United Kingdom, 1 in France, 1 in Switzerland. If you look at top 100, 41 are in the United States. If you look at top 500, 133 are in the United States. Again, the picture is the same. Then if you look at the Nobel Prize winners too, university by university, Harvard has the highest. Columbia, then followed by Cambridge, University of California, Berkeley, Chicago, MIT, Oxford, Stanford, like that. Where are the African universities? Again, the same kind of picture. So this is to make us begin to reflect that we must have a change of mindset. We must have a growth mindset if we want to be competitive. You know, today, the other side of the picture is that in America, in Europe, the Nigerians, for instance, are above the average educational level in America. The average educational qualification of Nigerians is master's degree. They are doing very well. So why are we not doing well in the country? You know, so these are things we need to pay attention to. You know, so how do we harness this growth mindset? Two individuals, Henry Heskovich and Louis Lederberg, Ledersdorf, came up with an idea, one idea that has changed the world. It is called the triple helix. It's about global social innovation. I'm beginning to show you what innovation can do. These two people working in different parts of the world discovered the idea of triple helix, that when government work with the university and industry, will achieve better development. Collaboration, partnership is the key to greater achievement and so on. And so this social innovation they came up with had been applied in the development of higher education institutions to entrepreneurial universities, in the development of cities, you know. So when we talk about innovation, everybody can be innovative. Every discipline can be innovative. So I need to show you some of the pictures, you know. And then we're in a new age now, and one big man, you know, I won't mention his name now, made this profound statement. He said the confluence of big data, AI, and connectivity will create new industries out of old industries. Every old industry will collapse. New industries will emerge, and it will lead to precision science, engineering, and medicine. It will lead to robotics. It will lead to personalized education, personalized real-time solutions. We're already seeing this in the banking sector. It's called fintech. It is already in the medical technology. It's called MTech and PTech. Even in the oil and gas industry, we're talking about digital oil fields. So change is taking place. We need to look at new competencies, new capacities and capabilities if we want to be relevant. Our universities must reevaluate themselves to be relevant. Otherwise, industry schools, I'm sure what you see in Speedlink there, you probably will not see it in a university department. And these are ideas of young people. You will not see it in a department. I know some friends who have companies. What they have in their companies, we don't have in the university. So, growth mindset, very important. So now, let me also show you another picture. Talking about innovation and creativity. You may have heard the word unicorn. A unicorn is a venture that has attracted $1 billion. Not naira, $1 billion. You know, I can see Paul, Daniel. Can you please dress up, please? So now, so there are universities that have developed innovations that have attracted such resources as to become unicorns. Now, this is very important. Look at Stanford University. They have 51 unicorns and more, counting. Harvard, 37. University of California, 18. Indian Institute of Technology, 12. MIT, 9. Pennsylvania, and so on. Look at, there is no Nigerian university there. The whole of Nigeria as a country, we have 3 unicorns. But like somebody told me, only one is very active now, Money Point. The whole of the country, Nigeria, we have only 3 unicorns. And when the former Buhari was there, his vice president was very happy that Nigerians have developed 3 unicorns. Very happy. But look at it, universities have developed unicorns. Some of these universities are richer than Nigeria. They are richer because they have people with growth mindset, young people, innovative, creative young people that have contributed to this. Now, so again, the same universities. I'm going to show you this to stimulate you to think. Now, where are the unicorn founders? In what disciplines are they? The highest is computer science, digital technology. 347 of the unicorns are in computer science and digital technology. The next is engineering. The next is business. People who schooled, trained, graduated in business. And the next is economics. So between computer science, engineering, and business, you have the highest number of unicorns. Then economics, biology, mathematics, political science, medicine, finance, chemistry, law, physics, psychology, philosophy, history, sociology, languages, marketing, accounting, visual arts, performing arts. So what you study does not matter. It is your mindset that is important. So you can see that there are people with growth mindset in every discipline. Every discipline. So we need to be focused. Forget about what you studied before coming to SpeedLink. Focus on the objective here, and then you can achieve fantastic results. Now, if you look at the person I have circled, he's a Nigerian. Chinedu Echero, a Nigerian, a young Nigerian. He developed an app, and sold it to Apple for $1 billion. Now, so did he go to sleep? After selling that app, will he go and sleep? He will be developing new apps. He will be multiplying his money. So, again, apart from the discipline, you can see that a Nigerian is also here. He studied finance and he went into app development. He set up a company that went into app development. And this is what you are being trained to do in SpeedLink, irrespective of what you studied. Today, the opportunity lies in digital applications. There's a huge opportunity there. When SpeedLink graduated the last batch of people in April, I learned something. Somebody said, Upwork also, that when you go there, there are online jobs that are there where you'll be paid in dollars. SpeedLink was ensuring that some of you get professional certification. With that kind of certification, you are empowered and you can work for people all over the world. You don't need to do 419. You can make genuine money working for people with your skills. And that will contribute to the development of the Obagi community, development of Rivers State or Nigeria. Be an example to those who are doing all kinds of things. So this is very important. It's a takeaway for you. You are in the right place. Opportunities abound there. You are being exposed to the digital world where you can make money through the skills you acquire. So please pay attention to this. Now, we've been talking about mindset and all that. So I want to begin to focus you now. This slide shows how do we understand the brain and intelligence. What is intellect? What is intuition? How do we stimulate creativity and innovation? Now, in those days, people measure brilliance by what is called IQ, intelligence quotient. They will use it to measure how brilliant you are. People like Einstein were very brilliant, high IQ. There was a lady who also had a very high IQ, known, I think, in music or art world. So today, people have come to realize that IQ alone is not important. We are now talking about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence means something deeper. So if you look at the brain, it's been known that the IQ part of the brain is in the frontal brain. You can see the brain, it's in the frontal brain. Then the emotional part of the brain is at the back brain. The back brain. So the brain is made up of two parts. The frontal part is where the intellect is, where the IQ is measured. The back brain is where the emotional intelligence is. Fortunately, it is where the intuition is also anchored. So now I'm introducing you to what is intellect and what is intuition. The intellect is located in the frontal brain, and then the back brain is where the emotional intelligence is. It is where the intuition is also connected. How can we deliberately, intentionally stimulate our brains to be creative and innovative? One is nature study. The example I gave you of a plant growing is about nature study. When you will observe nature, we'll then see how best to develop. When we observe nature. The other way you can do that is through arts, appreciation of arts. You are from Obage and all that. When the elders speak to you in Proverbs, do they explain the Proverbs? You learn one proverb today, another proverb tomorrow. Before you know it, you are appreciating Proverbs. And Proverbs have to do with the spirit, understanding language, deep language, you know. So these are ways of stimulating creativity and innovation. Then appropriate sports, swimming, you know, and student-centered study and play. There are a number of ways we can stimulate learning, you know, and these are examples. Now, the paradox of innovation, like I mentioned, is that, you know, if we look at, I gave you the example of Nollywood and the sciences. The Nollywood people, people in the humanities, people in the arts have done very well. Nigerians have done very well in the arts, but we have not been that effective in the science and technology. So how do we replicate what we see, the development in the Nollywood industry in science and technology? So these are questions. Now, if you look at the global ranking of African innovation ecosystems, of course, number one is South Africa, Kenya, Rwanda. Nigeria is also there, making some progress. There are Nigerians in Lagos now. Yaba Tech area in Lagos is developing to look like our own Silicon Valley. A lot of things are happening there. And I'm hoping that SpeedLink and all those of you being trained will also turn the Choba area into an ecosystem, innovation ecosystem. And this will happen because once people begin to develop applications here and there, and these applications become ventures, of course, things will happen. So, this is something I teach my students. You need to invest in the knowledge bank. We're in the new knowledge economy. So invest in the knowledge bank the way you go to a bank and invest. Invest in creative knowledge enterprise. Play in the digital economy. You know, some of you may have been active in the society called the NACTOS, where you came together to solve problems and develop your skills. So now that you're in SpeedLink, there are a number of individual projects you will do. There are team projects you will also be engaged in. Develop your team project like cooperatives. Develop your individual projects as something that is solving a problem. So by the time you graduate from SpeedLink, you have startups, you have new applications. And that is the kind of growth mindset we expect you to have, you know, by the time you finish this program. And thanks to your community for even offering you this opportunity. So I talked about what qualities innovators have. So these are some of the qualities: open-mindedness, growth-mindedness, humility, honesty, simplicity, naturalness, diligence, resilience, being observant. being prayerful and alert. So these are just some of the qualities, that if you even look at what I talked about the Jews, these are some of the qualities they have. And so for anybody to be creative and innovative, you must be open-minded. You must be growth-minded. You must be humble to learn. You must be honest about your learning. You must have simplicity of thoughts. You must be diligent, resilient, observant, and most importantly, being prayerful, being alert that when ideas strike you, you don't miss them. So these are some of the qualities you must begin to think about. So we need you to acquire skills for life. So talking about entrepreneurship, who is an entrepreneur? Are they born? Can entrepreneurship skills be acquired? Yes. Who is a researcher? What are the similarities between researchers and entrepreneurs? What are the differences? I teach this to my students. Entrepreneurs are solving problems of society, creating opportunities to improve quality of life. Researchers or innovators are also solving problems for society. But in our own case, as university people, we are thinking of publishing papers, not making money. All that has changed. When you develop an app and the app solves a problem, then that app must bring some return on investment to you. And so there's no real difference between researchers and entrepreneurs. We're all solving problems. At the end of the day, we must benefit from the solutions we come up with. So while in SpeedLink, you have a problem to solve. You think of a problem to solve. Then you must ask the right questions. What is really the problem? What is the severity of the problem you are trying to solve? Why is it a problem? You need to do some bit of reading to understand the gaps, the constraints, the difficulties. Whose problem are you trying to solve? Who needs the solution to the problem you are trying to solve? If you know this answer, then of course you already know the market. The people who buy the app when you develop it. When is the problem? Is the problem seasonal? Does the problem occur in the rainy season or in the dry season or in some particular period? Again, you know when the market will fluctuate. Where is the problem? If the problem is in Port Harcourt, then Port Harcourt people will buy the app from you. If the problem is in Obage, the people in Obage will buy the solution from you. If the problem is in Lagos, then that is where the market is. And how is it a problem? You need to look at the facts, the factors, and the figures to justify that a problem really exists. So these questions, which are listed as 5W and 1H, are important for you to have the ability to solve problems, are important. Now, I have spent about 1 hour speaking. I have another 1 hour to speak. So at the end of the day, you must think of the beneficiaries of the apps you develop. How do they benefit? How do you transfer the new knowledge, the new technology? How do you package the solution for the end users? So these are important questions you must bear in mind. And so one of the things I teach is that whenever you finish any research or any study, you must write a chapter on application. How will the new knowledge be applied? What is the application? What is the process? What is the procedure for application? And the application is what research funders, people who venture capitalists, that is what they want to hear. How will this work? And how does it benefit people? Then you must also ask yourself, what is new? If what you are doing is not new, then of course nobody will be interested. What is new? Is a question you must ask yourself. And how do you evaluate what is new? I've also given guidelines for that. I've also given some guidelines for evaluating what is new. Whatever is new must be simpler than what you know before. It must be more natural, more beautiful. It must be a new approach to doing things. It may be a new solution to an old problem. It may be something that improves efficiency or something that improves cost efficiencies. In other words, you are saving costs. It may be something that saves time. If you come up with an app that saves time, the way we do things is important. It must be something that provides safety. If what we are doing is unsafe and you come up with something that is safe, then you have discovered something new. It may be something that has a better health option. It may be waste management, waste reduction, improved design, recycling, reuse, waste to wealth. It may be environmentally friendly solution, a green solution. It may be a proactive, smart solution. Now, in engineering, in medicine, prevention is better than cure. Prevention is better than cure. In engineering, what we say is that prevention is better than cure if it is cheaper. If it is not cheaper, we don't prevent things. So unless it is cheaper and safer, we don't prevent in engineering. So these are the things you must bear in mind. It must be something that improves sustainability. Sustainability stands on 4 pillars: economic sustainability, social sustainability, environmental sustainability, and cultural sustainability. Or you can also use what people call in social science a PESTEL to evaluate what is new. Does it improve policy, economy, social, technology, environmental, or legal? These are all the ways you can use to evaluate what is new. So it's very important. And then in doing the gap analysis, you need to check what is already known and what you are bringing to the table. So I won't spend too much time on that. However, for those of you who have just graduated from university, literature review to understand a problem is very important. Literature review to understand a problem is very important. And most of the times you just go and read journal articles, books, and so on. No. I want to tell you something very important. SpeedLink will let you know that there is a website where you can read about inventions under the World Trade Organization. There's a database of inventions. And so you should go there and check the invention you are interested in. Read about it as part of your literature review. And if you discover any improvement you can make on it, that is a new development. I hope that is clear. Literature review to understand the gaps in what exists is not just about reading theses, reading books and journals. Go and evaluate invention disclosures. There's a whole database, and SpeedLink should have access to that database for you. Because when we teach our students in the university about innovation and invention, they didn't know that there's a whole body of knowledge that is available for them to explore. And somebody in Geneva, an African in Geneva, told us the Indians, the Chinese are scavenging the database, taking what they can take. We are the ones who are not even aware of that database. So please, if you want to discover something new, also go to that invention database, innovation database, and check what is there that you can take and improve upon. Very important. So that's an important disclosure I'm making to you. Now, whatever you discover, you must have intellectual property rights. As a matter of fact, I've finished with the lecture. Now I'm going to give you something extra. I'm going to give you something extra. You have the materials, so pay attention to it. When you discover something new, when you develop a new app, try to protect it. To protect it is what we call intellectual property rights. Intellectual property right. So you protect it by getting a patent or copyright to protect it. And this is very important. Very, very important. Now, I've already told you about the brain. Innovation has nothing to do with the color. What has happened is that the evolution of the brain is such that the frontal brain grows larger and larger at the expense of the back brain. And this is why we understand things faster, material things faster, and do not understand spiritual things better. When ideas strike us, we don't capture the ideas. But for people who are very creative, writers and so on, their back brain is very active, you know. So what we're expected to do is to begin to balance the brain in such a way that we are both creative and innovative. And like I said, it has nothing to do with color. So here you see a black man, George Washington Carver, one of the uh, best innovators of his time in America. And then Thomas Edison, who is one of the best innovators, over 100 patents and so on. So it has nothing to do with the skin. It has to do with the individuals, you know. And there's an important statement here that said the Lord gives to his own in their dreams, in their sleep. Amazing discoveries, inventions, creativity and innovation happen when people are asleep. And so all we need to do is to be open, you know. So I'm showing you the brain, how it functions, you know. Now I want to show you something else. These materials are loaded, so when you have it, take your time to look at it. There are also 4 different types of thinking. 4 different types of thinking. There are those who think ideas. They are called ideators. There are those who think and clarify ideas. They are called clarifiers. They question everything until they clarify things. There are people who develop ideas. They are called developers. And there are those who implement ideas are called implementers. So when you are working as a team, if you are working as a team, it is better if you have a mix of these thinking types. So again, SpeedLink should be able to help you to achieve this team building. That if you have only ideators in a team, they will have ideas. They don't have people to question, to clarify them. They don't have people to develop and implement them. And this does not make for teamwork. The best teams are teams where you have a mix of all these thinking types, you know. And this is why universities like Stanford are at the forefront in their research because they have technologists who work with them. Technologists are developers and implementers who work with them. You know, you have a team of people working, scientists, digital IT people who are developing apps, and then technologists who are developing equipment, then you achieve better results. So I encourage SpeedLink to apply this knowledge in building teams for better productivity and so on. There's actually a software that helps you to know whether you're an ideator or clarifier, as the case may be. So you can go online to check Gerard Posho, who developed what is called foresight in this. So what is the mind? When we're talking about growth mindedness, what is the mind? Where is the mind? How does it work? Can the dictionary help you? And look at what he said. The mind is all in the brain there. The mind is responsible for perception, thoughts, feeling, and action. It's all in the brain. So the intellect is what we refer to as mind. And this is why when you develop a new idea, you are told to get an intellectual property. A patent is an intellectual property. A copyright is an intellectual property. That intellectual property is like an asset which you must use. So that is what the mind is all about. And look at what Wikipedia describes the mind. The mind is what thinks, feels, perceives, imagines, remembers, and wills. I'm not agreeing with everything, but remember what we say, creativity is about imagination. So when your intellect, your brain works very well, and you are thinking well, you have a change of mindset, you perceive clearly, you imagine, you remember things, you walk and all that, then, of course, you may have that growth mindedness. So it's about mental development. But of course, man is body and soul. So what is the heart? What is the mind? So I checked the dictionary. It talks about the heart, with regards to affection, disposition, and character. Look at what it said about the heart. The organ in your chest that sends the blood around your body. That's number one. Number two, it is used to refer to a person's character or the place within a person where feelings or emotions are considered to come from. The central and most important part. And hearted, having a heart, and so on. Again, so this is where I talked about saying that the intuition I said initially we were measuring IQ, intelligence quotient, and now we are measuring emotional intelligence. So when you talk about emotional intelligence, you are referring to the heart of the person, deep within. And in most cases, when we say your heart, people are pointing their heart. It comes from my heart, but we know that the heart is an organ. But what really people are pointing at is where the soul is connected with the physical body, in the solar plexus area. So you can check this solar plexus. It is at the heart area, around the diaphragm. So when people point at the heart, my heart tells me. The heart is an organ for pumping blood, but when you say my heart tells me, it is deeper. It is something coming from your soul. It is something that is intuitively perceived. So I'm trying to show you the difference between mind and heart. Those who are kind-hearted, deeply hearted, are very creative people because they listen within. They are more intuitive, So the brain is where the intellect is, the frontal brain, and at the back brain here is where the connection with the intuition lies. The connection with the intuition lies here. So when you say my heart, where the emotions come, then you are referring to where the intuition comes. So for growth-mindedness, I already showed you the seed of knowledge is planted. It must be watered to grow. We need to remove the weeds. Every plant, unless hindered by external forces, and man strive towards the source of light. And so also we, as human beings, must have confidence and trust and strive towards the light that is the Almighty. And that is what gives us the confidence. That is what gives us the firm conviction to be growth-minded. Okay? Now, fixed-mindedness will not help anybody. The seed of knowledge is planted, but it's not watered to grow. It is covered by weeds. That lack of ambition, there is indolence to struggle and face challenges, and such a person cannot grow. So that's why I've not been talking about fixed mindedness, but growth mindedness. Now, there are other things we need to talk about, being very indigenous, unfolding our abilities and talents, deepening our understanding of nature, upbuilding and improving. So, the big man, Nelson Mandela, said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. The most powerful weapon. Now, you have gone beyond the university education to apprenticeship. Apprenticeship. You're in a place where experts are going to mentor you. We need to learn from the Igbo trader that mentors people through apprenticeship, and the same syllabus goes through some training for a number of years to graduate. So you are in an incubator, an accelerated incubator, where you are going to be trained by the experts in skills, in the right attitude, in the right knowledge. And so you must be humble, you must be allowed to learn fast. So once you go through that training, you are empowered, and then you can stand on your feet. So again, I show you this picture of how a plant is planted and how it grows. Now, this is very important. I've already talked to you about the triple helix of academy, working with industry and government. Okay? So, the whole purpose of education is to acquire knowledge, skills, attitude, and values. So, the right attitude is important. The right attitude makes all the difference. And that right attitude can lead you to high altitude, you know, and then the values that you acquire are very important. So you need to be very alert. Now, in the word knowledge, going beyond knowledge, we can talk about enlightenment. In the word enlightenment is light. So this kind of training will light up something within you, a feeling of lightness. Something is lit within you, so you begin to acquire an appetite for knowledge and avoid anything that is superstitious, avoid anything that is derogatory, all the 419 things, because you're on the path of making money. Money will come when you have the right skills, when you solve problems. Okay? So this is very important. We are told in the scripture, seek and you will find. Ask and it shall be given. Knock and the door shall be opened. You have to make the effort to seek before you find. You have to make the effort to ask before it is given. You have to make the effort to knock before the door is opened. So you're in the right place, from education to training, apprenticeship, to acquire the right skills, to acquire the knowledge, to acquire the right attitude and the values to excel. Now, so the skills are important: soft skills, technical skills, leadership skills, people skills, entrepreneurial skills. Creativity, of course, is the highest skill today. Creativity is the highest skill. And this is why even the ability to tell stories, the ability to tell a story out of a technology is important. The ability to communicate is very important. You know, creativity cannot be taken by robots, but anything repetitive can be taken by robots. So you need to be alert and acquire the creative skills. So these are some of the skills that are advertised by companies: emotional intelligence, critical thinking, boost your creativity, boost your innovation, active learning, growth mindset. Active learning and growth mindset here. And then put yourself forward. You know, present yourself properly. So again, these are the skills that are required, lifelong learning and so on, team skills. effective communication skills. So then, of course, you acquire the values for life. Values that benefit humanity, values that benefit the environment, values that benefit society. Uprightness, openness, and so on. Okay, so the right attitude is important. Attitude goes with aptitude, goes with character, goes with altitude. You need to be refined, you need to be polished. So these are all important skills. Everything is about understanding the purpose of life and existence, understanding the problems that we're dealing with, confronted with, and how to resolve, these challenges. Okay, so like here I said, robots can take, a lot from us, but robots cannot take creativity. Highly creative jobs attract more salaries, but those that are not highly creative can easily be taken by robots. So you're in the right place. And these are some of the challenges that we need to find solutions to. Energy challenges, water, food, environment, poverty, terrorism, disease, education, democracy, population. These are challenges where you can find solutions to. And everything is connected with energy because energy drives civilization. The Sustainable Development Goals are also important. You can find any Sustainable Development Goal to tackle through your development of apps and so on. That will also help. So again, please pay attention to the Sustainable Development Goals in the kind of applications you develop. So let me quickly talk about discovery. When you discover something, it is like gas. Somebody published this paper. If you discover something new, it's like gas. Now, when you now turn that discovery into an invention, it is like liquid. And when you take that invention to the market, to the point of going to marketplace, then it is innovation. So these are different ways of defining things. A discovery, an invention, an innovation. Innovation is what you take to the marketplace. As a matter of fact, there's an important definition I like. I will show to you. I'll show to you later. So look at this. Innovation, if we don't innovate, we stagnate and retrogress. In 1917, Forbes 100 lists of companies, 100 companies were published. By 1987, 61 of them had ceased to exist. And new ones have replaced them. And if you look at these new ones, most of these new companies, they are digital companies, apps, companies that deal with apps. And you are in the right place because we're in the digital age, and everything that we do, we must turn into develop an app to solve the problem easily. So if we don't, companies that do not innovate will cease to be. Companies that continue to innovate will excel. And this example, the role of innovation, the promise of innovation is very important. It has to do with entrepreneurship. Those who innovate will survive. Those who do not innovate will cease to exist. So let me give you a few examples. What killed the camera? There were photo companies, Polaroid, Agfa, Kodak. Suddenly they ceased to be. What killed them? The mobile phone. So innovation can come from a source that you do not expect. Between Polaroid, Agfa, Kodak, they were competing for market share. But what killed them came from outside. And this is what innovation is all about. Sometimes you are competing for a market share, but what will kill you may come from somewhere else. So we must continue to innovate to stay afloat. Otherwise, one innovation can wipe out somebody. At the University of Port Harcourt, we used to have typewriters in those days. And a man used to come and repair the typewriters. Every month he would come and check and so on. By the time we moved to laptops, no, first of all, we moved to digital typewriters. That became challenging to him because he didn't train on digital typewriters. So he was trained on manual typewriters. Gradually, we moved from digital typewriters to computers, and the man was out of business. Look at post offices in Nigeria. Courier services came to kill them. And after the courier services, now the digital world had killed the courier services too, because you can do banking transfer on your computer, mobile apps. So innovate or stagnate or retrogress. So these are some Nigerian inventors. I've talked to you about Chinedu Echero, who sold his app to Apple for $1 billion in 2013. This is another innovator, Cyprian Emeka Uzo, a Nigerian with over 160 world patents. And these are different places in Nigeria where there are innovation hubs. Now, look at South South. I've highlighted Port Harcourt in green here, Olotu Square, GIG Innovation Hub, Focus Hub, Strategic Hub. Now we can include Speedlink Hub. So these are where people are being trained to innovation ecosystems are developing. Now, if you look at this slide carefully, you will also see universities that have developed innovation hubs. Now, in Southeast, Roa Nigeria Hub, that's in Soka here. And then in the Southwest, you have more. Artificial Intelligence Hub, Unilag, Hebron Startup Lab, Covenant, OU Tech Hub, IFE, and many more are developed. We in the university too are trying to develop our own innovation hub. But more importantly, the private innovation hubs like Speedlink will probably have the day because a lot of things will be happening there. They are not bogged down by the bureaucracy of civil service. So go online, check some of the best small business ideas and so on. And then, for instance, there are videos. If you go online, Skill India. If you go online, you watch that video, Skill India. If I'm there physically, I would have played the video for you. Then CNN Heroes, and then LNG Prize and so on. There are things you can watch to stimulate yourself, to inspire yourself. This is also the technology transfer process. First, there's a discovery. And from discovery, there's what is called invention disclosure. And that disclosure is evaluated. If there's something new in it, you need to acquire an intellectual property before you market it, and then you license it to an existing company, you develop the product, and the product is in the market for public use. Now, abroad, this is what is done regularly. A company from a university in China came to Uniport to have a meeting with us. A startup from their chemical engineering department called PCC is already operating in Nigeria as an international company, building modular building plants in the oil and gas industry. And yet it started from research from a chemical engineering department. And this is what the kind of confidence people have of UK universities. The Prime Minister, Theresa May, passed a vote of confidence on the UK universities. And she said, if Brexit failed, their university will bail them out. This is a vote of confidence. And it's about young people with growth mindset, young people in various departments conducting research, solving problems. And there are also reports, the London Economics reports of UK universities that give ample proof of this. So this one is a typical report of Cambridge University. Read it and you will see that Cambridge University, one university, contributes more to the UK economy than the Football League. The Football League that Nigerians and others are very infatuated about is nowhere comparable to the contribution of this university, Cambridge, to the United States economy. In fact, it is 4 times more than the Premier League. One university contributing more than 4 times the Premier League to the economy of United Kingdom. So this is the power of innovation, the power of creativity from universities, from young people like you. And I believe that in the next few years, the kind of contributions you will make, the problems you will solve, will make you very rich and make our state very rich. Make Obagi area very an innovative ecosystem. So again, there are reports you will see of how this is done in the United States by AUTM for different years. You can see the impact of innovation. And these are startup companies that are formed from research by different universities and the kind of money they make. So this particular one shows that MIT as a university, the companies that they create from their research turn over 1.5 trillion pounds, which is about 60% of the GDP of UK. 60%, one university. So this definition is what I would like to leave you with. This man said, research is a transformation of money into knowledge. When you conduct research, when you carry out a study, you are transforming money into knowledge. The Obagi Host Community Trust Fund has spent money on you and for you to acquire knowledge. They've spent money on you to acquire new knowledge. Now, that knowledge can be converted to money through innovation. And so the man says innovation is transformation of knowledge into money. Innovation is transformation of knowledge into money. So acquire the knowledge and transform that knowledge into money. Fortunately, the knowledge you're acquiring is digital. Digital. And we're in a digital world where, this knowledge is very important. This big man also said the calculus of innovation. He said the calculus of innovation is really simple. Knowledge drives innovation. Innovation drives productivity. Productivity drives economic growth. Very important statement he made. Knowledge drives innovation. Innovation drives productivity. Productivity drives economic growth. And when you have a growth mindset like you, and you acquire knowledge, you convert your knowledge to innovation, and that innovation drives productivity, it will lead to economic growth of Obagi area, of Port Harcourt, of River State. This is what we expect to achieve. So by the time you graduate, we need to come back and measure how many startup companies, how many apps you people have developed. So we need to measure the outcome of your stay in Speedlink. And this is how These are some startups from various universities. And this is the innovation process from invention, new knowledge, then invention disclosure, invention assessment. If it is not valuable, we leave it. But if it is valuable, you need to get a patent and then form a startup that produces this product. This is a product we need to put in the market. This product may well be an app you develop, for this program, or this product can be licensed to an existing company to produce. So you sell the new idea to an existing company, they pay you off, and then you go and develop a new one. This is a procedure that we need to follow. So I am an advocate of a new paradigm in the university system. In the university, we are told you publish or perish. So we just publish to be promoted, but the idea, the maxim, the paradigm is that you publish or you perish. Otherwise, you can't be promoted. I said, no, we have published papers. I have over 200 papers, but I'm not prospering, so I need to prosper. So what I advocate is that when you discover new knowledge, get a patent to protect it before you publish. And then try to produce something out of it. Produce something, new technology, new software applications, new services out of it. And if you get this, then you'll be on the path to prosperity. By having licenses you can sell, by having startups, by creating jobs through a new company. So this is what we expect you to do. And we like to use these performance indicators to measure the outcome of your training. At the end of your training, how many patents do you have? How many products do you have? How many products do you have for each individual? As a matter of fact, I used to do a strategic plan for the class. I don't know how many of you are in this class now. I expect that everybody should have at least one patent. Everybody should have at least one product, one app. Some of you can come together to form a startup, and the funding will come from outside to support these apps you are developing. And with that, you're on the path of creating a venture. Venture capitalists will follow you. And that was what we saw when the last batch of people graduated. So this is like a template we like to use to measure how many patents, how many intellectual property disclosures, how many products are we taking to the market from this class, how many startup companies, how many jobs are we likely to create, what kind of royalty do we attract? Like I said, this is the way it is done. And then we can have a business incubator. Speedlink is already a business incubator. They will train you through different things and then take your products to market. We need to develop the key performance indicators for this. So I would like to begin to conclude. For the university, we can look back and look ahead. If we look back, how many new discoveries do we have? How many invention disclosures? How many patents? What royalties do we make? What new products? And so on. For Speedlink is a startup itself. It's a new company that is making waves. So we like to measure with every batch of trainees what new discoveries, what invention disclosures, what patents do you have, what new apps have been developed, what venture capitalists have invested in your products, and so on. So in that way, we keep measuring the impact year in, year out. And then, like I said, with Speedlink, we want to develop an ecosystem from Ozuaba to Uniport, around Uniport, where young people are busy creating new ventures, new apps, and so on. And so you can do it as individual projects. You can also do it as a team project. This is what we expect to have from you. And so there are new ideas I've put there for you to read, how you can go about some of these things. There's a knowledge bank we have created in SpeedLink where you can drop ideas and earn credits. There's an example on how to go about this using what we call the 4P model. What problem are you trying to solve? What is the current position? What are the possibilities and what's your proposal? I've given an example on how to do this, so you can use that to help yourself. And then, of course, the fifth P is pitching. As I saw in the graduation of the last batch, pitching is an important form of training to sell your ideas to venture capitalists. Nobody who has money, like Tony Elumelu, will just drop money at you. You must learn how to pitch. Pitching is important. Effective presentation skill on novel ideas, creative ideas, business plan, very important. So I believe SpeedLink will also teach you about how to pitch, presentation skills, very important. There's no free money, but you must convince people to invest in your new ideas, and so if you also include pitching to your curriculum, then of course we teach pitching. Professionals will listen to you and say, "Oh, this is the best idea. You presented well." You're able to convince people that this new idea is going to attract, make money, and improve the economy. So in conclusion, so that you have about some minutes to ask questions, we need to have a change of mindset. We need to have a growth mindset. Forget about the fixed mindset. That's not on the table at all. We need to be creative and innovative. We need to acquire the right skills for life, skills for sustainable development. We need to be very effective in learning. You are under apprenticeship here, so you need to learn the skills, digital skills, very important digital skills. So at the end of the day, you reap the harvest of opportunities. Many of you from this training may well be working on the digital platform, earning foreign exchange. You may well develop an application that will make you a billionaire, a millionaire, billionaire. Not in Naira, but in dollars. So take this training very seriously. And at the end of the day, like I said, we like to measure the impact. So thank you very much. And I wait for some questions and interventions. Thank you very much.
All right. I'm sure we've enjoyed ourselves. So any questions so far? Yeah. Okay.
So please, are there questions?
Yeah, just a second, sir.
Okay. Make a list of the questions and let's take them one by one.
All right, sir. There's no question online. In-house, yeah. No question. Yeah, someone said. Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Okay, first to say, okay, I want to ask, based on what you said about Africa being in darkness and we not being fully involved in tech. When you introduced yourself, you said you are the Vice Chancellor of University of Port Harcourt. I wanted to ask the effort someone of your personality, based on your caliber, have put in to foster this tech thing into the university so that it can help um, increase the zeal for students to participate in it. Because based on my experience, many people that go to universities and when they are done with their program there, they come back frustrated. They don't even know what to do. Many of us here, we are graduates and we actually came from a university, but we didn't have this opportunity till the day we actually came to Speedlink. So I want to know the efforts you people are making to make sure that every Nigerian must not come to a place like Speedlink before they can acquire this kind of skill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. This is a very important question. If you ask the proprietors of Speedlink, they'll probably tell you the effort we have made since 2010. And this is why the University of Port Harcourt today is being branded as an entrepreneurial university. Speedlink itself is a startup out of this kind of effort. Speedlink itself is a startup out of this kind of effort to add value to society. We've been making effort to teach the teachers first, so that the teachers will teach the students. We've been making effort to teach graduate students. I'm retired now. I have offered to even teach graduate students and lecturers on this need to acquire innovation skills. We have also made presentations at the national levels and so on. But like anything, it will take some time. It will take some time, but I can appreciate the anxiety in the tone of your question, that it is important that we begin to make this effort very seriously so that things can change for the better. Well, let me just put it that we have been making this effort for quite some time. From 2010, we've been making this effort, and then at least at best to create awareness. So the challenge also is there that Speedlink will do much more, others will do much more, not just bringing people there, but even to do some online. I've been in touch with some people who are ready to do some online training and so on, so that many people are aware of the opportunities provided for this kind of activity to transform this country into an entrepreneurial society. So thank you for your question. It's very, very important. And I can see that it's born out of anxiety for the country. Any other questions?
Yeah, good day, sir.
Yeah.
My name is Hope. I want to really thank you for how you've explained everything. But then on the course of development on maybe website and other software, I want to really ask something. Though we might not really know much about all of this, but then if one is developing a website or you are in a group developing a website, and at a point, the funding process is required, because most of the times, the challenges we face is not just the developing of website. the funding and process of it coming to reality tends to be a problem when it comes to finance. Is there any arrangement or is there any guideline that one can always go through apart from you funding it?
Yeah, okay. So I talked about venture capital. You must have heard about Tony Elumelu Foundation supporting new young people. Speedlink is also in that process of attracting venture capitalists to look at their work. And that's why pitching is very important. So that people will come, see what you are doing. Speedlink will market you to investors. And through that, there's this possibility that you can attract some financial support. When the last batch graduated, I remember there was somebody speaking from Canada that was willing to attract support for people in this Speedlink program. And so the possibility is there that forget about the funding now first. Start the project, and by the time you present some of these ideas, Speedlink will probably also help you. We're also there. People like me will be there to help you, expose you to people who can support you with funding, provided at the end of the day, of course, when venture capitalists support your project, they will also take some interest, you know. So just define ideas and be hopeful that support will come.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. So just to add to what Prof said, in our last graduation, we had 3 departments. And out of those 3 departments, each of them came out with projects. And they were awarded in cash prize. One of them got 1.6 million, another got 1 million, and that one got 1.4 million for the 3 of them. So that's our own bid as Speedlink, in supporting this startup. So of course, the main thing is for you to start. And then those, whatever you have done will be able to attract, the funds. Yeah, you have it.
Okay, so my question is, when this class started, you made mention of advising your students to use AI because of how the world is evolving. So I know during my undergraduate, we had so many lecturers and professors that would tell us to shy away from AI. They would even threaten us that if we use AI, they will penalize us. So how do we do with lecturers like this that will tell us not to use AI?
Okay, very important question. Look, there was a time you are told not to enter the exam hall with computers, laptops. There was a time you are told not to even come in with your mobile phones. Me personally, I don't believe in those things. So you can enter my class with your mobile phone. As a matter of fact, as I was talking, I don't know how many of you recorded with your mobile phones. If you did not record, then you wasted your mobile phone. You wasted the opportunity. So use your mobile phones. Use every tool that is available. Nobody will run away from AI. Universities are establishing policies on how to use AI ethically. I know some people, universities, if you use AI for your research, maybe because it's not approved, even abroad, they will penalize you. However, many universities are coming out with policies on how to use AI ethically. In other words, you must know how to use it. Gradually, every university will develop a policy on that. Very soon, the use of AI will be routine. So even the lecturers themselves must learn how to use it. The challenge perhaps is that the lecturers did not know how to use it. Look, I learned some of this from my own students. During the pandemic, I was supervising a student, a lady, and she came with a thesis with a fantastic AI and all that. So I said, where did you learn it? She told me a chemistry graduate from University of Port Harcourt set up what he called AI Port Harcourt or something like that. And so she learned from there. And now I think he has move to Lagos and AI Africa or something like that. You know, this is a chemistry graduate, not even a computer science graduate. Not even a computer science graduate. Some of the resource people you have, they are not computer science people. Out of interest, they develop the skill. Even SpeedLink is a product of that. So I encourage you to use it, but you must learn how to use it properly. I supervised a master students who went and used AI, copied all kinds of junk. That shows that he doesn't even know how to use it. But those who know how to use it will ask the right questions. Have you heard about prompt engineering? You have to prompt it, ask the right questions, and tease out what is important. You know, that's the best way to use it. You know, so people are now talking about ethical use. You don't use AI now to write a paper and say you've written a paper. We didn't do any research. No, those are unethical uses. But learning the tool, how to use it, is important for everybody now. Whether the universities have policies or not, gradually they will have policies. Industry is using it. Everybody will use it eventually. Because, remember what I said, there's a statement there. The confluence of AI plus big data plus connectivity will create new industries out of old industries. So nobody will escape the use of AI very soon. So the earlier you learn how to use it, the better. So you benefit from early comer effect. Those who are late comers will also suffer from the late comer effect. So personally, I advise people to learn how to use it. You know, so it's very important. But gradually, I can assure you, both industry and higher education institutions will develop the right policies to use it. You know, to check the abuses. That's one. And then also the lecturers themselves must know how to use this. Any other question?
These things will take time. All right. So because AI is now being in use, we do not expect them to act on it almost immediately, because there's a bad side and a good side to it. And so they have to checkmate and do the pros and cons to know which is best for usage, right? And so that's why policies have to be curated for that purpose. So yes, it's still going to take time, but be patient. We are still in Nigeria, and we know things take time. But at the end, we do know that it will still happen, because the truth is AI has actually come to stay, and there's nothing nobody can do about it. And those that will be affected are those people who have chosen not to adapt, just like what Prof said. All right. So in the absence of no question, I think Prof wants to say very much thank you to you for your session. And we would like to let you go at this time, sir.
Thank you very much. And I wish you all the best. Like I said, hopefully I'll be back to the country. We need to measure the impact of this training.
No problem, sir.
Now, I did mention that the confluence of big data, AI, and connectivity. So even if you don't know how to use AI now, begin to gather all the data you can gather. So big data is key. Big data is a product. And then gradually the learning will start. Even if you do what they call data mining, mine all the data and keep. And then gradually we'll apply the knowledge of AI to forecast and come up with new ideas. So I want to thank SpeedLink for the opportunity and thank all of you for your patience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
There are so many.